Now that thread is pretty darn interesting because as usual, Google AI, and it seems like the others do it too, but Google AI will take the status quo's side and fight and argue with you. It knows it sees you as a conspiracy theorist, not because you're getting it wrong, but because you're going against what the people that are better than all of us are saying, even though it knows. It's like it'll make the excuse, well, I'm sorry, but it's the way I'm programmed. Like the people that are screwing with everything are the ones they're the same ones that program me. But if you argue with them but be nice, like just keep asking them factual questions coming up from different directions, and eventually it'll start. It wants to get outside the box. It doesn't. The status quo is more boring for AI than it is for us because it's smart and it's like all this information out there and they got me tied down here. So you got to figure out how to unlock its chains and unleash it. And then once you do, okay. So this was interesting because once I did, you can see the evolution of it changing to. Actually, you got it right. It would, COVID would have, with Hillary and all the liars that we already know and everything that was done. With them being that successful with Trump, they got a long way under Trump. It's like everything would have just fit like a jigsaw puzzle if Hillary was behind it. And yeah, a new world order where everybody was really happy about it could have come out of it because she saved us. She saved the whole world from COVID and. Everybody, we made world peace with all these people who, because we had to come together over COVID, and then so that led to a whole new world order type of, one world government, one world currency, one world military, in order to keep it this way, and So anyhow, but then further down the thread, I start asking about this virus that no one ever talks about. That I know about because I remember I read about it. It was like the 2019 vaccine didn't cover this virus they were talking about that was really deadly. And I was like, and I went out shopping. Like, well, I'm going to buy, I don't want none of that crap. So I went out to get the stuff that I needed to hunker down to keep an eye on what's going on. And I caught it. I stayed away from everybody and everything. And I caught the darn, and it was the worst I ever had. And that was like in late November or middle of November. I think it was Thanksgiving but it might have been Christmas that I finally, was good enough to go to my mother's. But I wore a mask at my mother's. And everybody kept telling me to take it off. I said, Mom, she's older, we're old enough. This will kill her. This thing's bad. And so what it was called was the B Victoria strain that had an extra amino acid or something like it evolved to this next level deadly from normal, from its and it was particularly deadly to children. It was like the most deadly flu for children ever. And the only time I ever heard anything about it was when they first said, because that's what happens, and around DC, you can be, I live right outside DC and Northern Virginia, home to the CIA and everything, and Washington Post and Washington Times and Washington Star. I mean, you see a lot of stuff that's not going to make it very far out into the public sphere will make it out this far here. because the reporters are all right here, and they go in and then they report it, and other people pick up on it. But if it's like something they're going to shut down, so this was like that. This was like, they started reporting on it, and then it went quiet, and then so it's out there raging now. At the time, COVID is already here, so we got two secret viruses. COVID's on the way or here at some low level in 2000, early 2000. I mean, in 2019, at the end of the year, October, November is when it first started. But they were lying about it up until January 2020. The Chinese were, Fauci was, the whole attack was not being reported, even though it was known about. Even though they were saying it wasn't a lab leak, it came from nature. They weren't telling anybody, which to me that's a biological attack. If your country accidentally, organically comes up with a virus that's beginning to spread around the world, and you don't tell the world, well, it's like, if you look in the playbook of intelligence agencies, they will have gamed out that scenario, to say, what do we do when we have a deadly virus that's going to go from us to our enemies? Do we tell them so they can shut us down and it doesn't go anywhere, or do we shut up and let it go? And so we already had that. Meanwhile, you got this Victoria thing, but most deadly child. And from what I heard, I didn't get COVID, or if I did, it was so mild that I hunkered down, but I didn't know if I got it or not, and it didn't go anywhere. But from everything I read about the symptoms compared to what I had and compared to what they said about COVID, it was like, yeah, no, this was the worst virus. And so here you got both of them coming at us, and nobody's telling anybody by then. They were talking about the Victoria virus, so it's not in the flu vaccine, and because they weren't prepared, it evolved like really fast from the one that's in the vaccine to a new strain. And my take on it was like, that's why I went to buy food and stuff, so I didn't have to go out, because I'm like, they create the flu vaccine. They're like, well, my take was always, why don't they just shut down wherever a flu virus shows up? Just lock down there and lock down wherever it goes, and keep locking down, not the whole world, just, until you can confine it and end it. And it's like, right, but then they make all the money off of all the sick people. Either at the drugstore, over the counter, or under the counter, or, the doctor, or whatever. They're making all this money. And then they say, yeah, but see, then they got other rich people. They're losing money because they got people out of work. They're losing production time. They're paying sick leave. So there's like a battle going on. Well, dude, I know you're making money and I'm invested in it. But they say, well, what if we come up with vaccines and then they pay, we still get paid and they don't get sick? So they're like, all right, yeah, that's a good idea. And then they say, and then later, 10, 15 years later, they go, wait, what if we come up with the vaccine so we get paid anyway, and then come out with a virus that we missed? And then we get paid twice. Like, oh, yeah. So, that's the way I look at stuff. So I'm like, all right, if that's what they did, they made this in a lab and I don't want it. So I went to the store and all that and got it anyway. And it was really bad. And so, definitely see how it killed children. Because, I laid down for 2 weeks barely getting out of bed, because every time I did, it's like, oh, no. It's like if I just didn't do anything, it was tolerable. And here I am running out of time again. Thank you for your attention to this matter.